For luminaire and stellaire owners, I'm going to show a couple ways to create appliques right in your machine. The first is going to be using the shapes category. Both have this category, so I'm going to select here, and then you've got several different types of shapes to choose from. For the example, I'm going to choose number 7 on the luminaire, and you'll see you have all kinds of different options here. Number 10 is just a simple outline. So I'm going to start with number 10 and press set. Now for this particular, to be about 2.5 inches, I'm going to go to my edit screen. And the first thing I'll do is go to size. And I'm going to resize it proportionately till it is about, actually it came up just about where I needed it to be anyway. So I'm going to leave it at about 2.5 inches. So the default was actually okay. Then I'm going to, in my edit, I'm going to copy that Now I have a second copy. Now, to be right on top of the original one. So back on my size key, I can go to the center button here and place that heart right on top of the original one. But I need to change the color for the applique. So then I'll go back and I will go to my colors. And I want to stay with the default embroidery, and we'll show you why in a minute. I'm going to change the color of that. It doesn't really matter, I just need to get a different color. So then I'm going to press OK. And now I'm going to go to my add. I'm going to add something else, so I'm going to go to add. I'll go back to my categories, back to number 7. And this time I can choose any one of these. I've got a satin stitch, I've got like candle wicking stitches, all kinds of decorative stitches there for your outline. I'm going to choose number 5. You can choose any size you want. And again, you just need to make sure it's the same size, so we left it at the default, so that works out well. And it also came in the center. So we have 3 shapes here. We have the original, we have the copied, and then we have the outline. So we're going to review how to embroider that out. I'll go ahead and go to memory so that if I wanted to cut this shape out on my cutter, I'm going to go ahead and, well, I'm going to save it, but I've got to make a change before I save it. So I'm going to go back to the edit, and in my colors assignment, you'll notice in the embroidery setting, I can select cut to my color change. So I have number 1, I'm going to tell it that is an applique and press OK. So now when I go to my embroidery, you'll see that it automatically has turned that into an applique stitch. And when I save this, the cutter will recognize that as a cut line. So we'll show you that when we put that in memory. I'm going to save that to a flash drive. When we go to the cutter, we'll show you how that works. So we'll go ahead and we'll sew this one out as if you didn't have the cutter, but then we'll do another example using the cutter. So we'll go ahead and return, and we'll get ready to sew that out. Now I have hooped some perfect stick, and I just stuck my pin down there, and I've marked where about I want my center of the design to be. So I'm going to place my snowman sticker here. So whether you're on the stellaire or the luminaire, you want to have your horizontal and vertical lines lined up where you want that design to be placed. And I'm just placing it right in the center. The stellaire, you're going to use your app, and the luminaire, it's done right on the machine. So I'm going to go ahead and attach my hoop, and then we'll show you how to position that. So on the luminaire, I'm going to go to layout, and I'm going to select my positioning sticker, and press OK. And I do want it just centered, so I'm going to leave it at the center. And then we'll go ahead and hit scan. The machine automatically finds it, prompts me to remove the sticker. And now I'm ready to start the embroidery. Now on the luminaire, I also have the option of using the projector. So I could touch the projector. And now I can see exactly where my stitch is going to be. So that's very helpful as well. So I can see now that it's going to be positioned just a little bit. I've made it a little bit bigger than that it's going to be stitching onto that. So I'm going to go ahead and move it up and over just a little bit so the projector was very helpful to make sure that. Now I could have also on the stellaire, you could have also used your positioning arrows to check the upper left corner, the upper right corner, so you could have checked it to make sure that it was going to sew where you wanted it to sew. So I'm going to move the projector so that I can see the whole thing here. I'm going to move it over just a little bit. I could also go in and resize it. I think we're going to be okay here. We'll get it exactly where we want it to be, and then we'll sew it out. So color change 1 is doing a placement line. So if I had chosen to pre-cut my shape, which we'll show you in a bit, that's where I will place my pre-cut shape. But I'm going to go ahead and place my piece of fabric. So we're going to do an trimming in the hoop for this example. So I'm going to place my fabric so that it covers the placement line, and then we're going to do the stitch that I copied is now going to place that stitch again so that we have our tack down line. So this is where you'll place your fabric, and now this is going to get trimmed up to that line. So we'll remove the hoop and I'll trim right up to the stitch line. So I've trimmed the shape right up to the stitch line, and now it's just going to do the decorative stitch over the edge. So that is one way to very quickly and easily create an applique shape in your machine with no software needed. Just using your shapes, and you have a lot to choose from. So just a placement line, tack down line, if you are trimming in the hoop, and then your decorative stitch line. So I will review again just how to make that placement line, turn it into a cut line. So I just went and opened another design that I happen to have on my flash drive here. And this could be any design that you have purchased or you've created, any design that is created as an in the hoop applique is going to have a placement line. So when you see that placement line, you're just going to select that, whichever color change it happens to be. You're going to select that placement line. And then you're going to go down to your color settings. You want to make sure that you are on the embroidery. So you have a lot of different brands of thread to choose from. You want to make sure you are on embroidery, and you're going to scroll all the way down and you see the cut. When I turn that into a cut line, it knows that that is an applique material. So when we take this file to the cutter, we're going to show you how the cutter will recognize that and cut that shape out. So after you've turned that into an applique material here with the cut line, you're going to press OK and then make sure to save that file. So I just save it, and now we're able to take that over to our cutter. Now we will be also, I'm waiting for our new 330D scan and cuts to come back in. We sold out and they're now on back order because we have a whole new option that we can send directly from the Luminaire to the scan and cut and back and forth. So we'll be doing some exercises with that once we get those in. For now, if you're doing applique in the hoop on the Stellaire or the Luminaire, just turn your cut line into a replacement line, assign it that cut line, and then when we go over to the cutter, you'll see that how that recognizes that as a cut file. So again, this first example is just creating an applique in the hoop using your shapes category.